utterly screwed up your grandfather's life, left him without love or friends.
And revealing his own utterly authentic sensibilities.
Welcome to Talkword. Today we're getting curious about one specific and kind of tricky English word, utterly. We're going to dive deep into what it really means and figure out how to use it with, well, total confidence. So let's just jump right in with the big question, the one you're probably already thinking. Is utterly just a more dramatic, fancy way of saying very? It's a great question, and trust me, the answer is way more interesting than you might think. To figure this all out, we've got to start with the basics, right? Let's look at the core meaning of the word. Okay, so if you were to look utterly up in a dictionary, this is pretty much what you'd find. It's an adverb, and its basic job is to mean completely, totally, or absolutely. Simple enough, right? Well, this is exactly where things can get a little tricky, because based on that definition alone, it seems like you could just swap utterly with completely or totally anytime you want. But if you've ever tried that, you might have noticed it can sound a little bit strange. The real magic isn't in what it means, but in the feeling behind the word. And that brings us to the secret ingredient, the thing that gives utterly its special power. It's not just about its definition, but about the feeling it creates when you use it. And here it is. Utterly is not a neutral word. Think of it as a specialist, an amplifier that you bring out for the big stuff. It's designed to add some serious emotional weight, usually to highlight things that are negative, shocking, or just totally surprising.
Here's a great way to think about it. Very is your everyday general-purpose tool, kind of like a hammer. But utterly, that's a specialist's tool. It's a precision instrument that you use only for those really high-impact situations.
So it makes sense that utterly tends to gravitate towards words that are already pretty strong on their own. You'll see it paired with words describing bad things, silly things, surprising things, and these really extreme states. It takes a powerful word and just pushes it to its absolute limit. Okay, so that's all the theory. Now let's see how this actually works out in the real world. Putting the word into action is for sure the best way to really get a feel for its flavor.
Just listen to these sentences. His excuse was utterly ridiculous. You can feel that, can't you? It wasn't just ridiculous, it was shockingly so. Or she was utterly exhausted. That's not just tired, that's a whole other level of wiped out. It's the same for utterly different or utterly amazed. Each one has this extra punch of emotion and surprise.
You know, just as important as knowing when to use a word is knowing when not to. So let's take a look at a few common traps so you can use utterly with perfect precision every time. Okay, here's a classic mistake. Exhausted is an extreme state. It's like you were at the absolute end of your energy. Tired, on the other hand, is a normal, everyday feeling. Utterly is just too powerful for a normal word like tired. It needs an extreme partner to work with. Now, while utterly often leans negative, it can be positive, but only when it implies some kind of surprise or awe. Utterly brilliant works because it suggests a level of cleverness that is just shocking. But simple words like good or nice, they just aren't strong enough for the intensity that utterly brings to the table.
And finally, for just neutral, measurable facts, you really need a neutral word. A glass can be completely full. That's a factual statement. Saying it's utterly full sounds really strange because there's no emotion involved. So for the facts, it's best to stick with completely. All right, we have covered a lot. So let's just boil this all down into a simple, practical checklist you can use every single time you think about using this word.
Here it is, a simple two-step test. First, ask yourself, does it basically mean completely? If the answer is yes, move on to the second question. Is the quality I'm describing intense, extreme, or surprising? If you get a yes to both of those, you are good to go. You can use utterly perfectly.
And there you have it. You've totally unlocked the true power of utterly. It's not just a fancy synonym for very, it's a specialist tool for adding real emotional impact. And now you know exactly when to use it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, why not continue your journey? Check out the Talkword app, where you can listen to podcast-style explainers for just about any English word you can think of. Thanks for listening.